Hello and welcome to another edition of Casey's Corner 3 here on the Benchwarmers Podcast Network. It's not really a network, it's just one podcast that has a couple different things going, but I'm talking basketball tonight, as I do every time I record. Just going to keep stating the obvious because why not? Tonight's episode is going to be focused on the Boston Celtics. As I said in the previous episode, when I decided to talk Spurs Rockets and that crazy 22-point comeback and the Harden missed dunk thing, I was planning on talking Boston then and just delayed it. So, the Boston Celtics sit at 17-5 as I'm recording this. They are leading their division. They are the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference behind Milwaukee, who is sitting at 21-3. And the reason I'm doing the Celtics tonight isn't merely because they're the second best team in the East, but it's also that they're a team that has a bunch of storylines. They had the whole Kyrie saga of last year end in the offseason. They signed Kemba Walker, do a sign and trade. Terry Rozier goes to Charlotte. Basketball fans, we all know the story. And there was a lot of unknowns coming into the season about how good the Celtics team could be. They lost Al Horford, which was a big loss for them on the front court, because now they're relying on guys like Grant Williams, who's a rookie from Tennessee, Enes Kanter, Robert Williams. Reggie's on my mind too. I'm pretty sure it's Robert Williams, but every time somebody refers to him, he's called Time Lord, so that's probably why the name is kind of slipping. The first name's slipping. He's from A&M, super athletic, big. But when it all comes down to it, the Boston Celtics have Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart as really their cornerstone pieces. Now, some people might not throw Marcus Smart in there, but I picked him to win Defensive Player of the Year last year. And I remember I watched him at Oklahoma State. I know the talent that he has. It's like if Patrick Beverley grew a couple inches and put on about 40 pounds of muscle. That's what you get with Marcus Smart. You get passion, you get hustle, you get defense, and you get a little bit of insanity. And I'm sure there's a little insomnia that goes through Brad Stevens' head when he's trying to sleep after watching Marcus Smart play basketball. The Celtics being this good so far is really they're being carried by how good the combination of Kemba, Tatum, and Brown have been, because you have Kemba Walker at just under 22 points a game. Jason Tatum's at 21 a game. Jaylen Brown's at 20. And then you have Gordon Hayward at 18. That's 4 guys who are averaging about 80 points a game. And they can all be on the court at the same time, which is one of the reasons why the Warriors have been so good. And you look at some of the super teams, and I'm not necessarily saying that the Celtics are a super team, but when you look at just team structure, like it's common sense that your best guys can all play on the court at the same time. There's just right down the road in Philadelphia, you're seeing what happens when your best guys really can't play on the court at the same time, or when they're on the court at the same time, it makes things harder than it should be. When you have Kemba, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Gordon Hayward, all you need is a big man. All you need, and like I said, they have Enes Kanter and Time Lord and Grant Williams to fill that big man void in your set. You have 4 guys who can make plays, a couple of them can play defense pretty well. They can all shoot. They can work so well together. And like what the Warriors did with the 4 of Steph, Clay, Draymond, and KD, you can take 2 off of the court at the same time to give them a break and keep 2 on, and you can rotate your best players with your bench. And when you have that ability, you get the results that you see right now, sitting at 17-5. You can play Kemba and Tatum with Marcus Smart, with a Wanamaker, with Theis, with a Carson Edwards. Like you can play. I mean, Ojeley's getting good minutes. You can just plug and play when you have guys like this, and you rarely skip a beat. The challenge for them, though, when it comes, and this is the theme of this podcast pretty much, is, okay, this is what you look like now. What are you going to look like come playoff time, and what are the optics? What is the ceiling? What can happen? Now, a team that's good, what can happen is they win a title. But in the NBA, what tends to happen is you need that one guy who can just dominate. You need one guy you can just say, all right, you're getting 25 tonight, and we'll take care of the rest. And they might have that guy. We don't know the ceiling of Jason Tatum. We don't know if Kemba Walker has the ability to do something in the playoffs like he did in the NCAA tournament. We don't know if Gordon Hayward's going to get back to the peak Gordon Hayward that we thought we were going to get. And who knows? Maybe it's Jaylen Brown. That guy's extremely athletic and will bust his ass to make plays. But when they're facing the 76ers, and when they're facing the Bucks, and even when they're facing a team like the Raptors, when they're going up against Giannis, Embiid, Ben Simmons, Pascal Siakam, is Jason Tatum going to be able to outshine them? Is Kemba Walker going to be able to outshine them? Are they going to be able to at least try to slow those guys down? And the fear, if I was a Celtics fan, would be we have nothing to deal with Giannis. Like they don't have, like, Grant Williams maybe, Jason Tatum if he takes a big step defensively. Marcus Smart is too small. I mean, too short by small. Enes Kanter, that's not happening. Time Lord, he's too. I don't think he's quick enough side to side And with the Sixers, at least you can put Ben Simmons on Giannis, and there's at least some similarities as far as size and athleticism goes. And that's why Jason Tatum's development as a defender is pivotal for the outlook of the Celtics winning a title or getting to the NBA Finals. Because if Jason Tatum can take on the role of defensive stopper and kind of just let the game offensively come to him, I think the sky's the limit for the Celtics team. And I hate to say that the Kawhi career arc might have been the better route for Jason Tatum. Now, when I say that, I obviously know that when Kawhi came into the league, he was a defensive stopper already. Great defensive instincts, good rebounder, strong, lengthy guy who needed work offensively. Whereas Jason Tatum walked onto an NBA court being able to score 25 a night easy. And he's needed to work on his defense in order to round out his game. So I just think that he needs to work on becoming that defensive stopper. And I bring up the Spurs a lot in comparisons because I'm around a TV in San Antonio and follow a lot of Spurs writers to keep up with the young guys' development with that team. And what happened when the Rockets Spurs game ended, Lonnie Walker was talking to the media, talking about how he's a defensive stopper. That's what he focuses on, and he lets the game come to him, offensively. And that's kind of where I think Jason Tatum might be more effective for the Celtics, because he's already talented enough offensively. He can shoot the ball, he can put it on the floor, he can finish, he can get to the free throw line, he can knock down free throws. He has a well-rounded offensive game. There's a reason why there were a lot of comparisons to Paul Pierce when he got drafted by the Celtics. Very smooth, silky offensive game that he's walking 20 points. So he doesn't need to really exert any more effort offensively. Where if I was Brad Stevens, I would sit him down and say, look, we have guys who can create in Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward, and Marcus Smart is a playmaker. Kemba Walker, we have those guys. What I want to push you to do is get ready to catch and shoot and make a play on offense when needed, but really focus on how can you stop the team's best offensive player. And if Jason Tatum can get to a spot where he's able to not necessarily stop, because it's impossible to stop LeBron and Kawhi and Giannis and Kevin Durant, but if they can have him make those guys work, as I said just a minute ago, the sky's the limit. You can see the Celtics in the NBA Finals with this roster of a ragtag front court if Jason Tatum makes that step. Will he? Will they ask him to do it? I doubt it. He has his niche. He knows who he is. They know who he is, which is why you kind of see him surrounded with guys like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, because those guys can play defense on the best offensive players from the other team, but those two guys don't have the height that he does. And time and time again in the playoffs, when you watch a team win a championship, it's because they have a pretty elite 6'8" to 6'10" guy scoring buckets. So at this very moment, I would predict a second round exit for the Boston Celtics, with the ceiling being making the NBA Finals. I don't know how likely they are to get to that ceiling, but with the NBA, weirder things have happened. And with that wraps up my Boston Celtics breakdown. Tonight, I will be back recording another episode of Casey's Corner 3 sometime. Sometimes on my drive, I just like to zone out to my podcasts and just not just think and drive. Tonight wasn't one of those nights. I wanted to talk to y'all. I'll figure out my next team and give you my next breakdown then. And as always, rate, review, subscribe, follow, listen, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you then.